Today, we're exploring the hidden communication systems that dictate executive presence. And listen, we're not talking about your standard run-of-the-mill public speaking tips here. No way. We're breaking down the subconscious signals that literally determine whether people trust you, promote you, buy from you, or just completely ignore you. So let me ask you something. How quickly do people actually judge your confidence? Well, the psychological reality is both fascinating and honestly a little bit ruthless, because listeners decide your level of authority within just a few seconds of hearing you speak. Before you've even made your main point in that high-stakes board meeting, your audience has already processed your vocal cues and put you right into a mental box. The real question is, are you the leader in the room, or are you just asking for permission to be there? Okay, let's dive into this. To rewire those split-second judgments, we're going to cover 4 key areas today: the perception prism, the authority voice blueprint, erasing weak language, and finally, the authority audit. You're going to leave here with a highly practical system to completely transform your delivery. Let's jump right into Section 1, the perception prism and the hidden cost of hesitation. Before we can change our physical delivery, we absolutely have to understand the psychology behind those first impressions. So think of the perception prism as this invisible subconscious filter. Every single thing you say passes right through it. Through this prism, every word, every pause, every breath is aggressively judged by our audience almost instantly. It's wild, right? It perfectly explains why someone can say something incredibly profound but get completely ignored, while someone else just states the obvious and suddenly has the entire room nodding in agreement. It literally all comes down to how your vocal cues bend through that prism. And this brilliantly illustrates why, crazy enough, intelligence often sounds like uncertainty. Things like uptalk, where your statements kind of sound like questions, or vocal fry, and even that nervous laughter we all do sometimes when we're put on the spot. Even brilliant, highly qualified professionals get held back when nervous energy causes them to fall back on these specific credibility-killing habits. Your resume might absolutely scream expert, but if your vocal cues signal hesitation, the perception prism just filters your intelligence straight into doubt. That brings us to Section 2, the authority voice blueprint, looking at the mechanics of command. We're shifting gears now from the psychology of the problem straight into the physical mechanics of the solution. True executive delivery requires harmonizing 3 core elements: your delivery, your power, and your physiology. It's like a giant puzzle. You can't just speak louder and expect to magically command a room. You really need to control your pacing and your cadence. You need vocal depth and proper breathing to fuel your projection. And physically, your posture and eye movement must perfectly align with your words. When you harmonize your breathing, end your sentences decisively on a downward inflection, and control that physical energy, you instantly project authority. Yes, even under intense pressure. But within that blueprint, one tool honestly reigns supreme: the power pause. Silence isn't empty. It is executive presence. This is perhaps the single most critical tool in the entire framework. Confident leaders never, ever rush to fill the silence. A strategic pause draws the listener in, it gives your words real weight, and it shows that you are incredibly comfortable in your own skin. Moving right along into Section 3, erasing weak language. Because here's the harsh truth: a strong, resonant voice means absolutely nothing if your actual vocabulary is unconsciously signaling doubt. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the immediate psychological upgrade that happens when you swap out just a couple of little words. Saying, "I think we should do this," totally leaves room for debate, right? It just sounds like a guess. But saying, "I recommend we do this," is a phrase of direct leadership. It's decisive. This one minor reprogram of your vocabulary completely changes how everyone in the meeting perceives your expertise. Here's another one we literally all do. Think about how often you start an email or jump into a meeting by saying, "Oh, sorry I'm late," or "Sorry for the delay." When you do that, you are instantly putting yourself in a position of debt. Feel the difference with the powerful alternative here: "Thank you for waiting." Removing unnecessary apologies and replacing them with gratitude completely shifts the power dynamic back in your favor during high-stakes moments. You remain entirely polite, sure, but you don't surrender an ounce of your authority. Let's move to our final section, Section 4, and see how this all builds into the authority audit. We've covered the psychology, the mechanics, the vocabulary, but all of this theory is pretty useless without practice. It is time for action and implementation. First things first, we have to identify the enemy, the filler words. Like, actually. I mean, I'm sure you recognize a few of your own favorites in there. We are all guilty of using them, especially when our brains are just frantically trying to catch up with our mouths. But these are the exact words that act as static, totally diluting an otherwise perfect presentation or negotiation, and interrupting your clear executive signal. So, to eliminate that static, you must use the audit protocol. Step 1 is the most crucial. Do recording exercises. You simply cannot fix what you cannot hear. Step 2, use self-scoring sheets to objectively measure your progress. And step 3, actively insert replacement pauses where a filler word used to be. Listen, systematically hunting down and eliminating these filler words via daily recordings is the absolute fastest way to achieve an immediate transformation in your communication style. It's just highly, highly effective. Which brings us to a magic number, 30. 30 days is the exact length of the voice transformation challenge outlined in our source material today. By tracking daily speaking scores, doing daily reflections, and hitting those weekly milestones over 30 days, you lock in these executive habits. The goal of this consistent, measured repetition is to take you on a journey from being consciously competent to being unconsciously commanding. That is when your natural resting state becomes one of absolute authority. So the crucial point I want to leave you with is this. If your voice was audited right now, like in your very next meeting, your next interview, your next negotiation, would it command the room or would it just ask for permission? Your voice is the hidden operating system of your entire professional life. It's time to take control of your most powerful communication asset. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you, go start your own authority audit today.